All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Crystal Joe Blanchard, and I'm with the California After School Network hosting this webinar today for How Kids Learn Foundation and Temescal Associates. We have an amazing group of people here today. We have myself, we've got Mary Margaret Callahan, we've got Dr. Daniel Dooley, we've got Jennifer Nickel, Jessica Caskel, hopefully she'll be here, and Jill Hoppy and Stacy and Onyx. I cannot wait to hear what all of you have to say. A little bit about today's webinar. We know that personal trauma and the uncertainty of each day due to the COVID-19 pandemic, regional wars, climate change, the militarization of American cities, and the threat of deportation, so much going on in the world. Young people are experiencing anxiety and depression at record rates. The scale of this issue can be overwhelming, so we must think out of the box. One solution is the introduction of therapy dogs and after school programs. According to US Service Animals, therapy dogs are increasingly used in schools and youth programs to provide emotional support, reduce stress and anxiety and depression, improve social skills, often with positive impacts in learning and well being. So, this webinar is designed to raise understanding and awareness of the use of the benefits of therapy dogs in school and after school programs. It will also provide suggestions and resources for after school leaders. There will be time to take questions from participants near the end of the webinar. And for those who are interested in introducing therapy dogs into their programs, either by scheduling therapy dog visits or helping after school workers prepare themselves and their pet dogs to become therapy after school visit dogs, we will follow up with a webinar and virtual check-in with questions and answers for additional information. So if that is something that you are interested in, please go ahead and drop that in the chat, as we would love to be able to invite you to the next more in-depth webinar about this. There is also, you can also see the paper that is on our website at www.temescalassociates.com, and you can go under resources and find the written paper that discusses this research. Again, also, we have lots of other webinar recordings on our YouTube channel, so please check that out if you'd like to learn more. And without further ado, let me stop sharing my screen. And I am going to highlight our first guest, Mrs. Mary Margaret Callahan. I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what's going on with you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Crystal Joe. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here. Let me share my screen as well. All right. So my name is Mary Margaret, and I'm delighted to join you here today. I am the Chief Mission Officer with Pet Partners, and I also have a dual role where I'm the Director of Education, Certification, and Standards for the Association of Animal Assisted Intervention Professionals. In addition to that, I'm a lifelong pet lover. I grew up in a household where my father was a veterinarian. We had lots of animals that influenced me throughout my life. And now I live on a farm in Eastern Washington with a variety of critters, including miniature donkeys, dairy goats, sheep, chickens, and then my pet dogs and cats. And I have a rabbit in my office while we're doing all this. So good times. Let's Just for those of you who don't have a background, Pet Partners is a national organization that helps prepare volunteers who wish to share their animals within their community. And so if you are seeking to become a volunteer with Pet Partners, our goal, of course, is to make sure that their communities have greater access to these safe and effective therapy animal visits in a wide variety of settings. And then AAAIP, which is a newer organization just founded in 2022, is the professional arm of that. So if you are a paid professional who's looking to incorporate therapy animals into your work, AAAIP, or the Association of Animal Assisted Intervention Professionals, is the place that aggregates the resources for that. We also have education, certification, and provide insurance to well-qualified practitioners who are using animals as part of their work. So the difference between these two really is around the volunteer piece versus the paid professional piece. Obviously, there's a lot of overlap, and I'm fortunate to be a part of these sister organizations. Pet Partners has been around for over 50 years, started in the 70s, and then, of course, AAAIP is filling that need that we see for professionals currently now. So let's talk about therapy animals for a moment in a broad sense, right? We can look back historically. It's as early as the 18th century, 19th century, when there was some early recognition that animals had therapeutic benefits. One of the early ones was the York Retreat, which was run by Quakers. That was a mental health facility, right? It was their option to, or an alternative to what were asylums in the day, and they included caring for small animals as part of treatment for people who were at the retreat. But then, later, World War II, I think, is usually credited with the very first sort of therapy dog, which happened to be a dog that belonged to an Army Corps nurse who was there and present. And people noticed the benefit to having that animal in that setting. But really, if we're talking about this, especially for our purposes and thinking about school settings and in children in particular, in the 1960s, Boris Levinson is credited with identifying or first observing that when his dog Jingles was present in sessions that he was doing, he noticed that it facilitated communication, particularly with a specifically withdrawn child who wouldn't communicate to anyone. He did some seminal research on that and some publications that really started to get the concept of therapy animals sort of broadly recognized. And then within the 70s, that started to take off. And obviously, that's when Pet Partners was founded. But today, where are we seeing therapy animals in school settings and school related activities? The one that I think is probably most common or in that people have recognized readily is in reading and literacy programs. Read to dog programs at libraries or at schools have become very popular, right? The idea that a dog's never going to correct your pronunciation, or if you stumble over a word, that dog isn't going to give you a hard time. But we see them also in other more broad student service integrations, right? So whether it's a dog that's present in the classroom on a regular basis, a dog in an after school program, a dog involved in certain specific activities or even lesson plans, that's becoming increasingly more common as well. Lots and lots of interest in recognition that animals provide us sort of a release from stress, right? And so very popular both at the high school and the college level to have dogs visiting before finals week or around particularly stressful times, but also on a smaller scale within schools on a daily basis for kids who just need a check-in and need a wellness break. The presence of a therapy animal can really be beneficial. We see them in emotional and therapeutic support, whether you're a school counselor or maybe a speech language pathologist or an occupational therapist who's school-based. That's an opportunity for the inclusion of therapy animals as well. And I should stop and just say, I probably will flip back and forth between therapy dog and therapy animal. We do recognize that the vast majority of animals in school settings are dogs, and really in all therapeutic settings are dogs. But there are other therapy animals. There can be therapy cats and miniature horses, also smaller classroom animals like rabbits, guinea pigs, things like that. So I'll probably use both interchangeably. Just recognize it's a broad spectrum. Of course, also behavioral and social learning, great opportunities for using animals as sort of that social glue and lubricant to people connected and communicating and talking to one another. And that spills over into crisis situations. Sadly, right, schools are not immune, far from it, from terrible crises, whether it's something like a shooting or an unexpected passing of a student or a teacher. Animal-assisted crisis response is widely recognized in many places, and bringing in therapy animals after sessions like that can really be advantageous. So what are all the benefits of this, right? Why would we do this in the first place? Well, they're myriad, and the research is continuing to be built to support all of these, but absolutely a decrease in anxiety and stress. This is probably the most cited and most researched topic in terms of the benefits of therapy animals, but also a lot of promoting emotional regulation, whether that's just mood management or whether it's coming down from some sort of dysregulation of emotion, which could be anger, fear, stress, whatever that may be. Lowering that emotional stress rate, really getting kids to settle back down so they can maybe return to the classroom. Lots of positive influence in terms of having that therapy animal there, right? One of the things I love, we hear reports of better behaviors between kids and staff, or kids and administration, right? Building those relationships. Improved attendance. We've had people report that on days that students know therapy animals be present, they have better school attendance than they do on other days because kids don't want to miss out on that chance to interact with an animal. And also there's some reports of enhanced focus when used in a very structured way, and therapy animals can help kids focus on a task at hand. And that can be a really great benefit as well. I often am asked, what age can therapy animals be incorporated with kids or in student classrooms or things like that? And I do want to stress, it's not specifically about the age of the student participating. It's really more about appropriateness. We always want to make sure that animals are well suited to the population with which they're working, right? Animals are allowed to have preferences, certainly. They're sentient beings. We want them to choose to participate in these activities. Some animals, therapy dogs, love working with kids. Most kids might want to do that, but you do need to ask yourself as a handler or an administrator or a person overseeing a program about the appropriateness of that client to an animal, right? Can they follow instructions? Do they have the motor skills that are appropriate for interacting with an animal? Do they have impulse control? I've met 5- and 6-year-old kindergartners who do great, and I've met 12-year-olds who simply don't have the impulse control to interact with a therapy animal safely. So it's really about making sure you've got the ideal situation and everyone wants to be there, kids and animals, and everyone has the skills, both kids and animals. We all want safe interactions. And also, chances are you want something that's effective, right? I can't stress enough how there's a plan to making these interactions between students and animals successful. This is not about just bringing your pet from home into school just because it sounds like it's going to be a fun thing. You want to make sure that your animal and the person who's responsible for that animal, often called the handler, are well qualified and can do this together. A lot of times I see focus on people hyper fixated on what the skills the dog needs. What does my dog need to do? Does it have to be able to sit? Does it need to stay? Are there certain tricks it needs to do? Does it have to follow specific cues? And really, it's not about just the animal's skill. It's really almost more about the handler's skill. That handler who's facilitating the interaction, that handler who can recognize the changes in body language that might indicate that that dog is not having a good time anymore, and maybe the interaction needs to change or end for everybody's safety, right? That animal has got to trust their handler, to know that their handler's always going to be making decisions in that animal's best interests. And that can be sometimes challenging. So when we talk about handler animal qualifications, don't just gloss over that handler qualification piece. There's really a lot to know in order to do this safely. And I will just also mention, in relevance to this slide, that idea of animal welfare, right? We need to prioritize an animal's welfare in order to keep this safe for everyone, right? I'll share a cautionary tale because, as the saying goes, if you can't be a good example, you'll just be a cautionary tale for someone else, right? So, person committed to visiting a school on a regular basis knows the kids love when they bring their dog, right? Dog is finishing up a round of antibiotics for an ear infection. They go, it's fine. He's feeling so much better, back to eating normally, behaving normally, goes to school, goes to interact with kids. Kid goes to scratch the dog on the head. Ear is still sore. Dog snarls. Not a great experience for the dog, not a great experience for the kid, not a great experience for the school, because then you've got parents worried that you've got dogs snarling at kids, right? The right choice, the choice that would have been in the best interest of that animal, would have been to wait until it was absolutely cleared medically to return, even if that meant disappointing kids that day or that week, right? And so, this idea of prioritizing animal welfare above maybe our other goals or hopes for the program really, really is important. Let's see. So, if this is something that resonates with you and you're wondering, well, okay, what are those standards though? What are the requirements? What do I need to know how to do? A really, really great place to start broadly is the standards of practice for animal assisted interventions. This is a very broadly written document. It was originally written back in the 90s. It was updated more recently. It is evidence-based, tied to research, but it goes through and identifies the standards for what handlers should know and be able to do, what animals should be able to do, and then pays attention to some important things like how do you assess for that? What are the animal welfare requirements? And most importantly, maybe for those of us who have a background in schools, what do I need to know about risk management and what plans do I need to make? It's a free document, you get it online. It's a great place to start if you're starting to explore this idea of whether you're going to invite volunteers into your classroom or your after school program, which is a wonderful option. They should meet these, and so you should be aware of what they are, or whether you're thinking you're going to prepare to bring your own animal with you. This is still a great place to start. Get you sort of oriented to what those requirements look like, whether you're going to work with a volunteer or whether you want to become the person who's bringing your animal in to your workplace. As I'm starting to sort of wrap up here, couple things I want you to think about. If you're excited, if this feels inspiring, if you're like, this is what I want to do, I know this is going to make a difference for my school, for my students, for my program. Think about some of these things before you jump right into it, right? I've already taught a bit about handler and animal qualifications. And I will say a lot of people always ask, well, what's the best place to train my animal? How should I do that? There are a multitude of ways that you can train and prepare with your animal. But the one thing that's consistent among all of those is that it's a relationship based training, right? Your animal has to trust you deeply. And obviously, if you're going to bring your animal into a classroom with students, you've got to trust your animal, right? So this is a strong, strong trust based relationship. So use positive training techniques, whether you're working at home on your own or whether you find a trainer that you want to help prepare you. Make sure that it's those positive reinforcement techniques, that it's relationally based, and keeps it positive and happy for everyone. You want to have clear goals and a purpose. Like I mentioned earlier, you're not just going to wake up one day and go, it would be fun to bring my dog into school. You need a reason and why. What are your goals? Are you looking to improve those social behaviors among your students? Do you have academic goals? Are you an occupational therapist? And it's going to be part of your actual day-to-day work. There's a lot of different possible goals, and there's no one right goal. There's not a better goal than others. People saying, well, I have academic goals does not make it better than I have social goals for the inclusion of a therapy animal into my program. But what that does do is it's going to guide your decision making from there on. So start with that clear goal. It also will make it easier when you're going to your administration or you're going to your supervisors or you're going to the district to say, this is what we're doing and here's our intended goal. This is what we want to do. It's going to strengthen your position all around. Logistical planning is a big one, particularly in schools where you have kids and parents and all sorts of stakeholders who have strong beliefs about what's in everyone's best interest, right? So, logistical planning spans everything from, do you need permission slips? Do you need participation contracts with your students so they understand the expectations of what they need to do in order to maintain a relationship and continue to interact with that animal? How are you going to manage allergies, fears, phobias? What about cultural differences for families who aren't comfortable with animals? What does that look like? There's a ton of logistical management here. And honestly, as you're preparing to do this, the logistical stuff is going to take up a big chunk of your time. So you might as well just suck it up and get it done, right? I will also mention that we're seeing increasingly schools or school districts trying to decide if maybe they're going to purchase a dog or bring a dog in and things like that. There are logistics in terms of that as well. Who owns that dog? What happens if the school buys the dog and you're the handler, but you decide to move or your position is ended? Where does that dog go? Does it go with you? Does it not? There's been some horror stories about that. I want you to think logistically about what every all the stakeholders need to have at top of mind, right? And get it all written down and documented. It's going to make life easier, I promise. Responsibility and oversight. Who ultimately gets the say about whether this is going well or not? Is there some sort of outcome or data that you're going to collect to sort of measure against those goals so that when someone at the end of the school year goes, I don't know, are we really going to keep doing this? Is there a way to determine that objectively? Who is ultimately responsible for the program? And I will say, on the flip side, who is ultimately responsible for the animal? Because if you are the handler and you're prioritizing your animal's welfare and you say, you know what, I'm not sure what's wrong, but my dog's not ready to come to school today. They're not 100% for some reason. You, as the handler, you need the ability to be able to make that call on behalf of your animal because it's a safety issue for everybody. Scheduling and limitations, right? Animals aren't like people. And even I'd argue that I would like to work less than 8 hours surrounded by children 100% of the time. I should mention I taught in a classroom for 10 years, middle school and high school. So I know whereof I speak, but it's a lot to ask an animal to be in a really high energy environment. So what does scheduling look like? What limitations do you need to set for that animal so that you're protecting its welfare and everyone's safety? It's a consideration to make. And then lastly, the one that's obvious, risk management and insurance. In today's litigious age in our society, you really do need to make sure you have appropriate coverage. And this means more than likely involving your school, your district, possibly your superintendent, whatever that looks like, to make sure you're doing this all safely. So those are my hot tips for bringing a therapy animal into your school setting. Hope that's helpful, and look forward to answering any questions that you have as we go through later and have some Q&A time at the end.
Thank you so very much, Mary. We appreciate it. Next up, we will be asking Dr. Daniel Dooley to be joining us. Hello, welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself while I get your slides up.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone on the West Coast to the East Coast and in between. As soon as I saw I was following Mary Margaret, I was immediately deflated because how appreciative I am of all the work that not only personally she does, but all of Pet Partners and Triple IP in this space. So thank you for having me with you guys. I think that as we go through, probably the most value I'll be able to bring to this particular presentation is just my experience of implementing programs in multiple districts and in for multiple purposes, and now with multiple dogs. So, as we go on, we'll be able to really focus in on any individual questions that you may have. But my name is Dan Dooley. I'm the proud superintendent of the Absecon School District. I'm also the chairman of the Association of Animal Assistant Intervention Professionals, better known as AAAIP. And I'm an adjunct professor at the College of Staten Island. I did see someone was listed today from Staten Island, so I make that visit twice a month. So our journey, my team and I's journey, I think, we've mentored over 50 school districts, most of them here in New Jersey, some of them far beyond, even in the United Kingdom, Alaska. And now, as you'll see in a moment, we are working with the Hawaiian Department of Education and implementing therapy animals in all elementary and middle school throughout the entire state of Hawaii. So we've done this presentations and ones like it multiple times, but probably my largest moment was being able to testify in front of the New Jersey State Assembly back on December 12th, as the Senate has approved the use of therapy animals in all elementary schools, all public elementary schools in the state of New Jersey. And we're just waiting for the assembly to go ahead and move on that bill. A lot of positive feedback there. But it was interesting to be identified as an expert witness when I still myself feel like I'm learning about this topic each and every day. Very good. So on the right and left are, the old standbys, the ones that made it possible. Sky is a 10-year-old Greater Swiss Mountain Dog. And if you see on the right, Hope is my female. She is she'll be 9 years old next week. So we have a big celebration scheduled with one of the classrooms here in the school. And if you see underneath Sky, he is retired after 1,381 visits. He was retired as of last year. He still comes back, and I try to keep him in the game a little bit, especially since we are introducing Luna, who looks a lot like Sky, and she likes to emulate everything that he does. So the more I can have her around him for implementation purposes and exposure purposes, the better she has come along. She just turned 4 months the other day, so we're very optimistic. But it also reminded me through the introduction of Luna into my program, first of all, over the last decade, how much work it took to get to the program to where it is now, starting over with a new puppy, but also how much you have to rely on whether it's pet partners or AAA IP, because you're seeing things that may have been different the first time around, and they really kind of keep us grounded in the ways that we implement our programs. So one of the things that we try to do here in the Absecon School District, all of the animals here we consider facility dogs. I didn't even know this was a term until some people made reference to what we were doing and coined the phrase facility dog. In explaining that to my community, many people believe that the dogs actually lived here in the facility. I said, no, 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 they sleep in my bed. They're not, they don't belong to the facility. But what we saw here was in traditional form. If you see the triangle model there, the therapy animal comes in with a handler, or that's traditionally a volunteer, and they work with a student or a group of students. The way that we've always done things here in the Absecon School District, and my rationale to start was, in case of an emergency, who's in charge of the kids and who's in charge of the dog? Who's advocating for the children in that moment, and who's advocating for my dogs in that moment? So for us, it kind of fit pretty routinely into some of the best practices in which we were attempting to implement. So I have 30 staff members district-wide, and not all of them are working with the dogs all at the same time, and we break it down and we have a science to it. But all of those individuals are either guidance counselors, social workers, school psychologists, reading specialists, students, teachers of students with special needs, that are handlers. And so when they are handling the animal and interacting with a group of students, it's not just they're not the teacher in that moment. They're a support staff member, right? So they are just handler in that moment, and the students actually have a teacher or someone who is immediately responsible for them in their actions and interactions, and also to ensure that the visit is really doing what it was meant to do for the purpose in which we were in there. So I know Mary Margaret mentioned a little bit earlier about identifying the need. What is the purpose of your program? And every school certainly has a need. And there was a second part of that slide. Let's hit it again. There we go. So for us, and this was pre-pandemic, because again, we're going on year 10 for this program, but we wanted to close the achievement gap. Discipline and behavioral modification was very important to us, and social emotional learning and school climate was very important to us. And then if we look at these things and we see how the needs were exacerbated by the pandemic and how we're left still dealing with some things post-pandemic, our goals really have never changed. And when we first implemented this program, I implemented it in the poorest district in all of New Jersey. And just trying to think of ways that were outside of the box to meet our children's needs that weren't going to cost a whole lot of money. And, so when we saw what the needs were and tried to, match our therapy dog program. So some of the ways that we're using them here. Is animal assisted therapy. And Mary Margaret talked about some of the background of, the benefits of therapy animals, but research suggests that using a therapy dogs in response to traumatic events can help reduce symptoms of depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and anxiety. And then when we have, what are we using? The benefits of animal assisted therapy. Teach empathy, develop social skills, aid in emotional regulation, and increase human engagement. So our animal-assisted activities include our classroom visits, positive behavioral incentives, and silent mentors in literacy. So there's a little bit of difference between the animal-assisted activities as well as the animal-assisted therapy in which we're using. So the anticipated benefits, we see them listed there. Let's go over to the next slide. So results within the Absecon School District. So in 2019 and 20, we noticed that halfway through the year that our first and second grade population were at the end of the year benchmark, right? So people say, oh, goodness, only 41% of your first and second graders were reading on level. No, 41% had reached the end of the year goal by January. So that was actually pretty good. What we noticed is that was a pretty significant jump for us in the time that we needed and focused our emphasis on literacy. That of the 41% who met or exceeded achievement expectations, 83% of those students participated in the weekly SMILE program, the Silent Mentors in Literacy Education Reading to the Animals. So we said, boy, there may be something to this. So when we started the program in 2018 here in the Absecon School District, we had 124 students participate. All of our students only participate through permission slips. And then in 2019-20, we had 145. Obviously, for reasons in 2021, we were down to 50, and then it picked right back up. And we've stayed at 300 or 400 kids to benefit from these programs per week ever since. So we were talking about the different benefits, and we know that when we're talking about behavioral incentives, right, trying to motivate children to obtain a specific goal, that in a 5-week period without the use of therapy dogs, we saw that in our middle school population that only 20% of our students reached that end goal. We found that when we introduced the use of therapy animals in the middle school population 5 through 8th here in Absecon, that 60% in 5 weeks were reaching their goal. So again, we said, wow, maybe something to this. But I think the most telling evidence in which we were able to capture is that when we have a child in meltdown or crisis and we are in the reset room, which is a sensory room with one of our guidance counselors or mental health care providers in there, that when a child came in without the therapy animal, it was taking approximately 17.25 minutes for them to de-escalate and to be able to return them back to class. With the use of the therapy animals, we were seeing kids regulated and ready to go back to the class in under 3 minutes, 2.6 minutes to be exact. And so it was that research that the assembly was really interested in, right? So, yes, it benefits academics. Yes, it benefits social and emotional. But the real, that data from going from 17 minutes to less than 3 minutes and getting children regulated and back to class was something significant. So how do we do this, right? So policies and requirements, sometimes the how is just as important or sometimes more important than the why. But when we talk about, the stakeholders and the board of education buy-in, um, the way that we help gear that program is, what is this program for? Let's identify the real needs of the children and see if we can make a correlation between what the attributes are through research of a therapy animal program and what the needs of our children are. And I tell, when I go to specific districts to help to assist them in setting up their programs, I say it's literally, if you do it any other way, without starting with the end in mind, what are you trying to accomplish? It's nothing more than a dog and pony show, right? But if you have a real reason for these animals to be here, and it benefits both, it can be really an amazing thing that the community members and the stakeholders really buy into and want to promote it. I knew we were in good shape here when it was around the holiday season of the first year of implementation, and the PTO, Parent Teacher Advisory, or the Parent Teacher Organization, which are huge within schools, especially elementary schools. When I went down to my office and went into the mailbox and I had a box of milk bones in there with a big bow on them, I knew at that point that the community was beginning to see the value of the program. And so it was something that we were careful not to over highlight or showcase, because what we're actually doing is we're meeting with our children in the ones that are signing their permission slips, and they're in specific areas, and we're not out and about and out front. We're just doing the work quietly. And for that to begin to, when the children go home and they're talking about that they were able to have a dog in their classroom, or how they felt when they were reading, or what they saw Sky or Hope do, that was all the advertisement that we needed, right? And that was behind the scenes gaining that good faith that this is a good program with a lot of benefits to our children, and our children enjoy it. And then with that limited interaction, I was cutting down on anyone who may have some adverse reactions to it. So um, certainly, when we're doing this work, we want to make sure we have the right animals, and they may be the right animals, but not for every situation in which you have hoped to implement. And you just have to be aware of that. Training is essential. My 4 month old puppy is here. I bring her here just for desensitizations of the smells and the slippery floors and the loud noises and those. And I bring the trainer here in person with the puppy, because sometimes, everyone wants to see the puppy. Well, at 3 months, she was very welcoming to large groups of people. At 4 months, she's a little more cautious. And I also realized that everybody coming in to say hello to her, everybody wants to go for her head. And so she's bobbing and weaving, and which isn't a great characteristic for long term. So how are we having people now greet her from the side, and having the trainer there as an extra set of eyes to make sure this is done the right way, has been a really significant part for us. The insurance, everybody worries about that. When I go out in front of other Board of Educations or talk to other superintendents, they want to know, what is the liability here? And for us, whether we were a New Jersey School Insurance Group or the GIF, which is just, they're the two major insurance carriers here in the state of New Jersey, our insurance didn't go up at all. Once the Board of Education adopts it as a program, then you were covered under the umbrella of the school, and there was no additional cost to that. Now, what I've been able to do is put the animals, because it is a very litigious society, and I put under an umbrella policy, just like you would an engagement ring, for $80 a year for both dogs, which covers for my homeowners. And that covers $1 million per dog, per handler, per incident as well. So it's secondary insurance. And then you have your organizations like Pet Partners and AAAIP with that also, when you're facilitating through them, offer additional insurance for those moments. Certifications for animals and handlers. I got to tell you, like I said before, I've done this process before. It's been 9 and 10 years because my dogs are a little bit older now. But without that, and we didn't have AAAIP or Pet Partners 10 years ago. I guess we had Pet Partners, but not the actual breakdown of how to do this and best practices and people like Mary Margaret and her team to be able to lean on and to really ask those questions. And that's all in place now. And that's been an amazing thing. And every one of the schools in which I've mentored or supported, that's the first thing I recommend too is, get a group of people who have the best interest they have a common interest of this program bringing a success, and they've done it so many times. This is their area. And so it's been great to have a partnership. And then as far as school board policies, um, they exist out there. You can certainly come to the Absecon School District. We worked in collaboration with we call them solicitors here in this part of the country, but our board attorneys. And we didn't reinvent the wheel. They already exist, and we took parts that we, thought fit our program, and we kind of tweaked things until we knew we had it right. So for some of the precautions, again, when you're at the superintendent level, everything can be a headache. Even, the old expression, the road to hell was paved with good intentions. The devil's in the details, whatever you want to add to it. But so we go ahead and involve our nurses with this process. So they go ahead and look at the permission slips and the spaces in which the dogs will be in, and they have a list of all of the individuals district-wide of who maybe have dog allergies. They were talking about, what group of kids are ready. I agree with Mary Margaret that there's no age on that, but I do not service my 3 and 4-year-olds here in Absecon. It's full day for 3 and 4-year-olds as well as from kindergarten on up. And I don't do that because the allergies in my 3 and 4 population seem to be significantly more, um, uh, severe than they are once they get to kindergarten and beyond. Believe it or not, we find that most children are allergic to dog saliva and not dog dander. So we do not treat our dogs in the sure after the day's done and so on and so forth, but we're not openly having our children of any age treat the dogs. So that was kind of something, a little adjustment that we had to make. But as far as our counselors, who are also our handlers and our child study team, support those who are fearful of the dogs, right? Because even though that child may not be directly working with Sky or Hope, they may be in the classroom down the hall. And so just to make sure that everyone's feeling comfortable. I have a wonderful middle school science teacher. He's about 6'5", and he is deathly afraid of animals, of all animals. And, just trying to be cognizant of that and making sure that those interactions are positive for everyone. So I use my counselors to really kind of walk us through that. And then here in Absecon, as the program really got pretty extensive, we had to lean on a therapy dog coordinator. And this year, I actually have two of them, two therapy dog coordinators, and one at each school. And, what is their duties and responsibilities? So the first point of contact for any immediate concerns. They're also ensuring consistency of best practice being in the classrooms and checking in on these animals. Biannual trainings and certifications and all that it needs to be done. They're keeping track of them, making sure everyone is current and up to date. Ensures a comfortable environment for a therapy dog in each handler's workplace, right? So in every space the dogs are in, they have their water bowl, they have their Tempur-Pedic bed, especially now that they're a little bit older. So there's specific things, and the coordinators are going in and checking and making sure that all of these things are in place. And that's kind of cut back on my concern of going from one place to another. It's the same setup in every space that they're at. And now that we're going and implementing the first ever in New Jersey, a therapy farm animal program with 4 Nigerian dwarf goats here on campus. And we've partnered with the local veterinarian and some really excited business partners that are covering the entire expense of the program. And so we'll be implementing our GOAT program starting on March 1st. So really the extra coordinator and making sure that things are done correctly and that have a chance to live in this space as part of their daily duties is something that's been pretty special about our program, and I think gives us a little bit of an edge. So any advice that I could give the people out there, start small. When I present and they say, or people come and look at the program here, this took a long time to get there. And I tell them, just get the paws in the halls, right? Just, whether that's 1 day a week, whether that's 1 hour with a volunteer, fine, right? See how and that helps you troubleshoot. It helps you really, you know, uh, just make sure that you're handling things and that the program's being implemented with the integrity that you're looking for, starting off small and then gradually moving up. All right, so this brings me to the end. I hope I didn't go over my time too much, but this I keep it in there. It's from the very first presentation I ever did, and I keep it on all of them. Working with you has been a real treat. I thought it was hilarious. I don't know if everyone else does. You definitely can tell your dog people from your non-dog people when you put that up on the screen. But again, let's just try to capture a general outline of our programs here and the implementation program. But if there's any specific questions, either as time permits here or otherwise, I have a full team and we can answer some of those very niche or specific questions about implementing your program during or after school. Thank you.
Thank you so, so much, Dr. Daniel. We appreciate it and absolutely love it. Love the data about 17 minutes versus 3 minutes. Wow, absolutely insane. So, thank you so, so much. Next up, I know we're running a little bit behind, but Jennifer, we have Jennifer Nichols here. I'm going to go ahead and add you to my spotlight
Awesome.
and go ahead and take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm the principal of a continuation high school here about 30 miles east of San Francisco. And our purpose here is to help credit deficient students who are trying to get their diploma. And we have a variety of students at our school. We have some moms, we have some dads, we have students who are returning from in and outpatient rehabilitation. We have students who are overwhelmed by the large high schools in our district. We are, by and large, an affluent district. We also have our share of public housing. And so we have a great variety of students at my school. We tend to be heavily boys, but we're getting more girls. And my experience with therapy dogs really results in kind of some relationships we've built with one person in particular. I'll just call him Sam. And other community partners that have come by. We do not have a program, but I wanted to share at least how therapy dogs have impacted our school with my particular group of students. So I wanted to share that background with you, first of all. It's very interesting whenever we have dogs. We also occasionally have llamas as well. When they come on our campus, everything changes, and it changes immediately. to watch the effects is incredibly powerful. We step back, the adults, and watch what happens with our students. And I wanted to share a little bit about what we see with these 17, 18, sometimes 19-year-old students interacting with animals, especially some of those who have been just as involved. The first thing we see is a complete change in their body language and their tone of voice. All of a sudden, they are whispering and talking to the animal directly. They are saying things and words that we don't often use, such as, I'm so glad to see you, I love petting you, words that aren't part of their vocabulary that we don't hear from them often and that they probably don't hear said to them. Um, what we also are seeing is what they then talk to each other about as they're interacting with an animal. They're talking about the fact they used to have an animal, that the animal was maybe taken from the family, or they lost the animal, or the animal was hit by a car. They talk about those things, and we as observers hear these things and we get insight. It feels a little maybe sketchy that we're kind of stalking, but these words are being said aloud and they're sharing outwardly traumas that they've had around animals and losses that they've had around animals that we may not have known about. And they're talking to each other, which is in this year, these years of earbuds and cell phones, we don't talk much to each other anymore. And now we have a focal point. We have a focal point to talk about empathy, about what it means to take care of an animal. Because many of our students are taking care of their siblings because their parents are either incarcerated or working at night, or they have just one parent. So this provides an opportunity for us to talk about what it's like to be responsible. And they ask a lot of questions of the dog companions that come, the llama companions, like, what do you have to do for this dog? Like, oh, does that take up a lot of time? Oh, wow, okay. So they're beginning to see that there's this parallel journey between animals and even themselves, which I think is really phenomenal for them to step outside themselves, which is something that we've always struggled with these students because we're so focused on classes and diplomas and grades and credits. Now they've had an opportunity to step aside from that and see that other people have struggles, and these innocent animals, they're very protective of the animals. When another student will bop into a group, they'll be like, oh, hang on a second, he doesn't like that. Or oh, hang on a second, like I'm petting this animal right now. So they're very protective of that. And the handlers are great because they'll help the students with language, which is a big thing at our school, strategies and uses of language when you approach. The other thing I wanted to share is oftentimes at our school, we have animals that are service animals. I don't know if I'm getting that correctly. Students who are diabetic or epileptic have their animals here. The animals also invite some increased knowledge for our students. They might not have encountered someone with these medical challenges, and so they're learning about these things. With our friend Sam, who uses a wheelchair, many of our students hadn't been around someone with a wheelchair. They didn't know how to approach. They didn't know the right words, and they were very intimidated, despite the fact that our friend Sam is amazing and open and very clear with his needs. And so that was an amazing opportunity. So I think what our takeaway has been when we're visited with the service animals, and that's a little bit to Dr. Dooley's point and Mary Margaret's point, what are we trying to do? What is our goal when these animals arrive? And can we create a schedule so that there is a look forward to with our students and we can reiterate and reinforce some of the language and the learning that goes with it when we are encountering these animals? So I really wanted to share that perspective of a high school near adults and adults are near adults who are greatly challenged. Read to a dog program would not work for us because of our structure. And so I would really encourage people similar in my situation, and I think maybe my middle school colleagues will speak differently to it, but creating a schedule where we have different animals and different providers coming in to work on social emotional communication and the empathy part that just simply is lacking. And we take responsibility as school. We should do a better job with that. But in this overwhelmed academic setting, to have these community partners come in creates open doors in ways that are unexpected for us. And I wanted to share that kind of my perspective. We'd love to start a program. I'm a cat person, sorry to say. I know I can work with cats, but I think it'd be really fascinating to start it with a student that we identified in the ninth grade level, and so that they had an animal throughout their 4 years of high school that they were concerned about and working with. I think that would be a phenomenal derivation of the program. I saw that cat go by, Mary Margaret. Thank you. So I wanted to share that with you. Again, thank you for letting me share our experiences. And I've learned so much already about what could be the future for our school here, Valley High School in Dublin, California. So thank you for letting me speak on this, Crystal Joe. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience. I always love hearing about different experiences that different students have at different age groups. So thank you so, so much. We appreciate you so very much. Next up, we've got Jill Hoppy, Stacy, and Onyx, who I can see down there. So I will go ahead and highlight you all. And I believe you should have sharing capabilities.
Yes.
Away you go.
Hi there. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm Jill Hoppy, and I am the principal here at Canyon Ridge School. We are a school just outside of Phoenix, about 30 minutes. So we are located in Surprise, Arizona. I have been in education for 29 years. This is my 9th year at Canyon Ridge. We are a pre-K through 8th grade campus. We have over 1,000 students on campus. We are a STEM school, so we emphasize our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We are super proud. We are an A+ school of excellence. We are Cognia accredited, a STEM school. We were actually the first in the state for that. I have to say, for A+ of excellence and Cognia, we have to write pretty thorough applications. And Onyx and our therapy dog program are always a highlight of both of those. So I'm going to let you learn a little bit about Mrs. Peterman too.
I'm Stacy Peterman. I am one of the 6th grade teachers here at Canyon Ridge. I've been in education for about 11 years. The majority of those have been spent here at Canyon Ridge. So I have gotten to be a part of, our Cognia accreditation, our A+ rating, all of those very exciting adventures. I spend the majority of my time, though, in the land of 6th grade ELA. And I am also a certified therapy dog handler. We have Onyx, who is currently our certified therapy dog here on campus. I do have another dog who also went through the program, but something we've heard everybody talk about so far today is, putting the needs of the animals first. And unfortunately, Jasper, the other dog, had some medical issues that unfortunately just did not relate the best to him coming into the classroom. So Onyx is our main guy right now, and we're really excited to continue our program.
Yep. I also want to add that I am a certified dog handler as well. And I also have Wrigley. But I want Mary Margaret, I can't underscore how important it is to listen to the dog's needs as a handler. And so the best laid visions, Wrigley and I went through the entire Pet Partners certification training through a local trainer here. And once we got him on campus, and I live about 30 minutes away from school, he developed anxiety in the car. And so, so after all that work, I can't travel with him because it just, you listen to the dog's language. So, you know, like if for anybody out there, just getting them exposed to the different things and following those procedures, but a dog has its personalities and so do all animals. And I just can't underscore, I loved him more that and his safety more than he could come here. But we have our Onyx, who is the star of the show pretty much any time that he is on campus. Um, so and just a little bit about our school. Our vision is that we are inspiring our innovators of tomorrow. Our mission guides our daily work. We are fueled by character and powered by STEM. We're raising the next generation of doers, thinkers, and difference makers. Our core values are student-centered, innovative, and hands-on learning. Each year we have a different theme, and this year's theme is Stronger Together. Today is my everything. If you look at the words, today is my everything, that's time. So that emphasis on living your fullest every single day. We just want to make school a happy place for kids, really. So, we really, truly, every single day want to meet the diverse academic and social and emotional needs of all of our students. So we have a little snapshot of the diversity on our campus right there with Onyx as our centerfold right there. We recognize that some learners require additional innovative support beyond our current programs. So I'll just add on to that. We at one point had a social worker program on our campus. Due to school funding, we do not have social workers anymore, which took just a tremendous amount of hit because our students, and just like the other panelists have talked about, they are coming in with increased anxiety, increased social emotional trauma for a variety of reasons. And we have to get creative as schools to help reduce that, help them feel safe and secure here at school with the limited resources that we have. Onyx is free. He comes in with Stacy and he just brings smiles to people's faces. Like we haven't taken the formal data on if a child is dysregulated and needs to be reset. However, Onyx is one of our interventions. And so we do have a behavior team and working with Mrs. Peterman and the behavior team, we know that utilizing Onyx is something that is accessible to all students. But really it is research-based and driven, and we live it every single day. We see the difference he makes. So Mrs. Peterman, she will get somebody to welcome her students into class and she'll stand at the door. Do you want to talk about your experiences?
We're always learning and, you know, trying new things, seeing what is effective and what is not. I have a student who requires me to meet them at the door in order to make it upstairs to class. So it's been really fun to stand there at that door, both with and without Onyx. On the days that he is here, he's welcomed with smiles. Everybody, as they walk in the door, just automatic smiles. We really focus a lot on teaching the children the appropriate way to interact, how to introduce yourself, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And it's been really eye-opening. Like I said, we're learning every day about the different ways we can incorporate Onyx's work into our school, and just watching the smiles as they walk in the door. And also watching how much of a hard time they give me when he's not here, when it's
Yeah.
not his day to be here. So it's been a great journey.
Yep. And I have to also say it's not just for students, but it is for staff as well. And there, Onyx, he just brightens our day when he's here, and he is loved by all. So, you know, I make no qualms that Onyx is the mayor here, and we just bow down to him pretty much all day. So our process, we did have a school coalition. We have a teacher, Miss Jennifer Klein, a second grade teacher who is always just researching it and wants to improve. And she actually was the first person who stumbled across an article and said, "Hey, we're innovative. Why don't we try this out?" And so I said, my mission statement in life is have a yes kind of day. So it's very rare that I say no, but I did stipulate you must write a proposal. And so she wrote a proposal. She got feedback from Mrs. Peterman. We found out that Mrs. Peterman has a passion, that she was a certified trainer. So we came fully prepared with that proposal of the who, the what, the where, the why, how it's going to work. And so just a chain of command. My assistant superintendent at the time was my go-to person. And I presented it to him, and then he presented it to the board. And then the board was the ones who said, yep, we could try it out. So really, truly, because Mrs. Peterman is our sixth grade teacher, Onyx is with her in her classroom. So I'm going to let her just talk about the pre-training before Onyx ever comes into the school each fall when we start.
When we start back with students, of course, their first question for me is always, when is Onyx's first day? We do go through a very structured sort of training time for our students, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. We talk a lot about it's education. What is a therapy dog? What's a service dog? What's, what are the differences? How do they apply? Why we always talk about the why Onyx is here. And it's really getting them to understand that this is a privilege, this is an exciting opportunity that we have, and it might be a little bit different than how you interact with your animals at home. But I always try and relate it to, we have to speak his language and the language that he has been taught, so that we can make sure that this is safe across the board. So I incorporate that with all of the students who interact with Onyx, but obviously the students that interact the most with him are the ones who get the majority of that. And we do ask our parents to sign a permission slip to allow them that interaction. As well as Onyx and I are constantly training, constantly continuing and updating our own education and certifications as well.
Yep. So just the positive benefits of Onyx on campus. He does create those positive conversations. He builds student confidence and helps just start those conversations, because so many kids are connected through their animals. Whenever Onyx is on campus, we certainly hear about their own dogs at home. And then we are continually asked, he's getting comfortable here. We are continually being asked, can I bring my dog to school too? And obviously that's a learning experience as well. So he definitely, we know research based is that you create episodic memories with students is so vitally important. And Onyx just being in the classroom creates episodic memories. I know that you could probably talk a little bit more, but one of Mrs. Peterman's first units is all about animals. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
It lends really, really well, and it was when we had a curriculum change a couple of years ago. I felt a little bit like this first unit was written just for us. It's called Animal Allies. There's actually multiple articles that talk about therapy dogs, service animals, and it's really talking about the connection between humans and animals. And my kids always ask me, "Did you put this in here just for us?" So we try and incorporate as much of Onyx as we can into our curriculum, of course, where it is most appropriate.
Yep. So we also we see it every day. We touched upon this that he lifts moods, he increases that feeling of acceptance. He brings joy and laughter. I do have like we're a pretty dog friendly, animal friendly campus. We do have our little gerbils in the fourth grade class. We have fish in other classes, so we've had snakes on campus that we actually, the kids will walk around with them with parent permission. So we're very, very dog friendly. But just this morning, we had a family who recently got a golden puppy, and he is 10 weeks old, and he came in. Do you know, just it was so beautiful, just the smiles, and that's can't be underscored. It is just the pure joy that animals bring no matter what, and all they are is themselves, period. And it's a pretty strong life lesson about let's just be us and find that joy in life. So I feel like just being a dog friendly campus, we always talk about Canyon Ridge is a family. And when we have visitors, we are often, the comment, it just feels different on your campus. It feels like home. You have a family atmosphere. And I think that that's, is it fully in part because of Onyx? Probably not. But it does bring us all together, and he does it, and we just there's not one visitor that comes on this campus when Onyx is here and I go into Mrs. Peterman's room that doesn't smile, that doesn't say thank you for going above and beyond and meeting those kids' needs. So it's just it's a win-win all around. In terms of policies and requirements, it's first and foremost is making sure that we have updated certification for the dog as well as the handler. For us, part of the proposal was that we were going to have permission slips, students training. In our years past, we've had parents who have some concerns because, a sixth grader might have allergies, and what is our plan for helping them? And like anytime we have that conversation, the parents are like, my student does not want to be the one that stops this program. So how do we work together with that? Because obviously a sixth grade student has to see Mrs. Peterman for ELA. It's not an option for that child not to. So Mrs. Peterman's room is actually a double size room. We have tile floors. We have a modified cleaning schedule for them. So those are all things that we have worked because pretty much all of our classrooms are carpeted except for a few rooms, and Mrs. Peterman's is one of them. And then ensuring that Onyx has those space for breaks. So we do have an outdoor classroom so that he could get some break times to do his business. And then allowing, so I've modified Mrs. Peterman's duty schedule as well. 100% of our staff is on duty after school during dismissal, and that would overwhelm Onyx. So making sure that her where she monitors is conducive to ensuring his safety, because when 1,000 kids leave this campus, you feel it, and we have to put him first. Anything else that I might have forgotten in that one?
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay. All right. Any advice that we could give is, like, look at all schools out there have their own DNA, have their own program, your vision. So create a plan that works for your school and your program, your vision, your goals. You obviously, we talked about this, so the animal comes first, period. And always you have the best laid plans, like I had with Wrigley, and it didn't work out, and it wasn't there. I don't feel a sense of failure. I feel prideful that I put him first. And so we all have those visions. Don't try to push something that clearly isn't working. Um, when we have Onyx go into the classrooms, and I know this from Wrigley too, is we ask the teachers to prep the students. So that's really important. If they don't you have exposure to them, is where should you pet the dog? Where do you stay seated? Don't come running up to him. So those things are things that Stacy and like I know Stacy communicates, hey, I need all of the kids to stay on the carpet when we come and visit. I need all of the kids to stay in their seat, and then they could put their hand out to pet him. So being very, very specific on communicating to the teacher what she needs the kids to do. And so if you do have handlers come in, having those conversations so that the students are prepped, because we don't want that experience of all of these kids running towards the dog. That could be scary for them. So like it is, I think, we heard this, the devil is in the details. So you really do need to think about what is the purpose of the visit. Is it just to teach the children about Onyx, about dogs, about therapy? Is it that he is going to be reading with the kids? What does that look like? And then really continual training for the handler and the dog is vital. So that is what we have. I'm gonna stop sharing our screen. Thank you guys so much for allowing this too.
Thank you so much, Jill and Stacy. And Onyx, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Next up, we have our lovely Jessica Casco. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself while I go ahead and get your slides up.
Hi, everybody. It's really nice to be here and hear about everybody's program and how they're working. My name is Jessica Caskel. I am a school counselor at Staten Island Academy, and we were lucky to be advertised on Staten Island Parents, so I have to give the plug and show off. We're really proud of that. But in that picture, you will see our campus dog, or our facility dog, Tigger. I think originally we were reached out to talk about Tigger, but unfortunately Tigger is not yet certified yet. He is just turned 2. He is in training. So we're one of the only independent schools on Staten Island. We serve about 350 students from pre-K3 all the way to grade 12. I took over this presentation because I actually have my own dog that I got certified through Pet Partners that I bring to school sometimes. So we can go to the next slide. Here's some things that Tigger does while he is adapting to the campus and adjusting to the environment and learning his role. When he's on walks, he is approached by students and he will ham it up, have a seat, wait for pets, lay down, wait for more pets. He joins classes on their adventures, on their learning adventures. He will visit students on the playground when they're outside. So as he makes his walks around campus, he will interact with students. Some other ways that we utilize Tigger on campus is every morning he greets the families. He and our head of school are in the front circle in the parking lot, and they are saying hello to everyone arriving. And it's just a wonderful way for students to arrive to school, whether they're morning people or whether there were struggles or battles to get in the car or get dressed or whatever. Mornings with kids are unique. And then they get to campus and they get to say hello to Tigger and give him some pets and go off to class. It's a wonderful, welcoming start to the day. And for the most part, he stays in our head of schools, Dr. Eileen Corgliano. He stays in her office. Some of the older students, middle school and upper school, they have the freedom to come and visit whenever they want. When he needs a break, the door is shut and he is resting. But when students have a free prep or if they have some time in between classes, they're welcome to visit and hang out with him. And it can be one student, it could be several students, but he's always available for the students who need a little break and maybe don't have the words to express what's going on. That their time with Tigger is calming their nervous system and helping them reset to continue with their day, whether it's preparing for a test or post-test stress, that the anxiety lasts all day. So next slide. This is Luna. This is another Luna. It's a classic dog name. She was born on a full moon, so I just figured I was going to go with it. So my first year at Staten Island Academy was 2019. That's when I started here. Before that, I had a private practice and I worked in mental health clinics around Staten Island. And first year, school counselor, global pandemic. That's just, great year. We were one of the only schools open after the lockdown was lifted. So we returned to campus immediately. And as a new school counselor, my colleague and I decided that we were going to invite therapy dogs onto campus. It was a super stressful time. That is when we started researching opportunities for us to have dogs come visit, therapy dogs come visit. Unfortunately, what we found out is that most of the agencies in New York City don't come to Staten Island, and there aren't a lot of facilities that have handlers certified on Staten Island. But we were very lucky to finally, after all of our research and all of our searching, we came across this small program run out. It's called Love on a Leash, and it is run out of the Pride Center of Staten Island, partnered with Pet Partners, coincidentally. And we were so lucky to find them. We invited them on campus and they were visiting. We had so many dogs visit throughout the next year and a half. It was such a welcoming and needed source of de-stressing, relaxation. It really in such a high stress level, intense school day, it was a very welcomed decompressing experience. And we decided we needed to continue this on our campus for all of the students. It was that the benefits were, the second a dog would arrive, just looking at the dog, some of the students didn't even participate in the program that we were running, but just to see a dog on campus it just felt different. So I inquired with Pet Partners how to go about certification. And I certified my own dog through them. I went through their training, and I'm happy to answer later on. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the training process. We didn't pass the first time around, but it turns out I live in a small studio apartment, and we were training on carpet, and the training facility was all tile and linoleum, and laying down was really tricky for Luna on a slippery, cold floor. So I had to retrain all of the commands on all different floor surfaces. It never crossed my mind. So we took it again, passed with flying colors. So we can do next slide. Through Pet Partners, I will take Luna and we will visit college campuses for difficult transition periods. There's a college, Wagner College on Staten Island. They have a lot of events there before finals, during finals, move-in days, breaks. So we go to the college campus a lot. We also volunteer in any community-led event that their children and families might be participating, and we have little centers where the students can come, or any members can come and hang out with the therapy dogs together. We visit the Staten Island Children's Museum, and we have a read-along program where children can read books to our therapy dogs. And we are starting a program with a local library soon. So that's what we do in the community. When I bring her to campus, it's maybe once a month. It's not as often because for all of you who know what school counselors, you can have a schedule, but it doesn't mean that that's how your day is going to go. I certainly don't want to expose Luna to too many crises. I'm the only handler for her. It's not responsible for me to put her in anyone else's care. No other adult should be responsible for her while on campus. I'm the only one legally responsible for Luna when she's here. So I have to make sure that my day is lighter, and I put that in quotation marks. Maybe I don't teach a class that day. Maybe my schedule has less meetings. So I have to be really considerate of her needs and her abilities for the days that I do bring her here. Teachers can request a visit for any event. We will communicate with the families that Luna will be visiting, but because our families are already really familiar with our facility dog in training, they know the gist. So we know the people who are allergic, we know the people who have some dog fears or animal fears, and we make any accommodations that are necessary for those students. Because we have the same dog coming, because we have Tigger, and because we have routinely Luna coming, the students, there's the spiel of what's expected, using our empathy. How would you feel in this situation? How might Luna feel in this situation? So there's rules and guidelines, and we always review them before a visit. We can either sit in a circle and we can make rounds. I always have her on leash. We can do 3 or 4 people at a time. She just likes to sit in the middle and receive all of the petting. She's like in her glory. And so that's usually how we plan for her visits. It can be, I'm the advisor of a mental health club on campus for the upper school students called Bring Change to Mind. It was created and based out in California by Glenn Close. So some of our mental health events, I will bring her, and the students, they again, they know the rules. We bring her in, everyone has some time with her, and she just loves to be with humans. Our future plans for the school, we're going to be working with Pet Partners in the Read With Me program. We're trying to figure out what we're working on the logistics right now of not using Luna. We're actually going to be because I think that would be too much for my schedule. to commit to. So we're going to be working with Pet Partner, Love on a Leash, to bring outside therapy dogs, certified therapy dogs for this literacy program. Then they'll visit in our library with new readers and to help. All the research suggests that it helps with decreasing anxiety with learning to read, and in smaller groups there's less anxiety. So we're going to be implementing that soon. So that's the picture of Luna in my office while I'm doing a lesson plan for a visit to our school. And I just bring her a little bed with her. I always have our water. I always have treats. Our class time is about 45 minutes long. So if she might work 2 classes, and she'll have hours before and in between to rest and recover. So it's not too much for her. She loves it, but it's tiring, I could tell. So that's how we have Luna visiting class. We have a facility dog in training. Our community wants more of it. Tigger has a Instagram page if you want to follow him. He's adorable, but still puppyish. And we don't really come across many obstacles, just an abundance of welcoming and more dogs, more opportunities to be with them and pet them and play with them and read to them and help them comfort us. And I like somebody mentioned it's for the staff as well, and 100%, it is not just the students that benefit. I think we have a picture. I was going to share a picture of my co-counselor laying on the floor with Tigger in the office, just taking a break before a meeting. And Luna and Tigger both bring so much to our community. So, and it is kind of like a family. It helps with that family vibe for the school. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Luna is absolutely adorable. I just have a quick question. What type of dog is she?
Good point. Okay, so Luna is a Maltese, and she's actually 10 years old. She was certified a couple years ago, so we're up for our recertification. Tigger, I believe, is a Labradoodle. Yeah, like a mix, right? A Labradoodle. So he's 2, but Luna was always. I think this goes with know your dog, know the personality. Luna was always seeking the person that needed an extra hug. She was just a natural. I didn't have to do much training with her at all. She was a natural therapy dog. She's gentle around older and younger people. So the training for her was really easy because she had the personality for it. She was born a therapy dog. So she was 8 when we did the training and when we took the test, and she's a senior dog. No one knows it, but she's a senior dog, and she loves children. So I lucked out with that.
That is awesome. Thank you so, so much. I am going to go ahead and ask our other panelists to come on. And I believe, is that everybody? Am I missing anyone? I think that's it. Any final thoughts, questions for each other, things you'd like to share? I think it was absolutely magical to hear all of the different ways that you guys incorporate the different animals into helping our students and our staff and all of the people in our communities and on our campuses. That is so great. Are there any questions from the audience? Anything in the chat? Any questions? Oh, there's another pup. And who do you have, Dr. Daniel?
This is Luna.
Luna.
They just all got returned back from classes. They were working all day. So this is Luna. She's the 4-month-old. I know she doesn't look like a 4-month-old, but she's 45 pounds already. So that's Luna. She's we bring her once or twice a week just to get her used to the smells and the sounds and all that kind of stuff. And she's here with Sky and Hope, and she loves to emulate everything they do. So we try to get them together and developing some of those good skills. But
Thank you. This was such a fun way to start our Friday morning with puppies on the screen and pictures of puppies and smiling children. I am just so thankful for all of the work that you all are doing with our students and our communities. I know that these dogs are making such an impact on the social and emotional well-being for all of the people that they come in contact with. So, once again, we'd like to thank all of our panelists, Jessica, Mary, Jill, and Stacy, Dr. Daniel, and Jennifer, who had to leave. Thank you so much. And for all of you attending in the audience, this webinar will be posted on the Temescal website within about 24 hours so that you can share it with any of your colleagues, or maybe just go ahead and come back and view some of the resources. We will also be sending an email to all of the participants that have signed up with resources, so you'll get a copy of the slide deck, things like that. You can also visit the How Kids Learn YouTube channel to watch past webinars and share with staff. And please stay tuned for more from the How Kids Learn and Temescal Associates. Thank you all so much. And that concludes our webinar for bringing therapy dogs into our after school programs. Have a
Thank you.
fabulous day, everybody.
Thank you.
Excellent.
thank you.
Bye-bye.